So these are my two new beds. This bed, the raised bed, was in the back of the yard with Jerusalem artichokes, and I moved it up here and I'm filling it with straw bales. I was able to fit 6 in there, and for those curious, this is how I do it. I put the bed down and then I have mulch underneath it, and then I put down cardboard, and now I'm putting my straw bales directly on top of it. And then so since my last video, it seems like the most popular question was what do you use for conditioning your bales, and about how much do I put on each of my bales and that sort of thing. The Straw Bale Complete Book by Joel Karsten that I showed in my last video, he has his own schedule and method for that. What has worked for me is using these different products here that I'm going to show you. I use a feather meal. You can see that there. And I will start with like this feather meal on my bales. I'll spread it out, and then the next day I water, and then the third day I use blood meal, spread it onto my bales, water it in, and then the 4th day I water. And then on the 5th day I will switch back to the feather meal and then water on the 6th day, and then on the 7th day I'll use the blood meal, and so on until I get to about day 11. By then your bales should be heated up fairly well. Mine got to like 100, 120 degrees. You don't want to plant directly into that, but you want to see that they're heating up, and it should start killing off some of the grass that's sprouting up. You'll see mushrooms coming up. They don't harm anything. There are black ink mushrooms that I noticed if they were close to like a delicate leaf seedling plant, it could burn the leaves on that plant, so I just knocked them down. A lot of wood ear mushrooms grow on the sides of the bales. It doesn't hurt anything. I just left mine alone, other than the ones that were right by the plant that I just knocked them down with just like my little hand rake or whatever. And the very last day of conditioning, I use this all-purpose here. And I just sprinkle it on the same way that I do the other two, and then I water that in really well. Is also as I allow the bales to cool down, I keep like checking on the temperature, internal temperature of the bales, to make sure that it is probably optimum, like between 70 and 80 degrees is when I actually am okay with planting my seedlings into them, knowing that the roots aren't going to get burned when they go into the bales at that point. And to measure, I just use this mason jar here. I just fill it up to here for each of the bales and sprinkle it on before I water it in. And I know that in Joel's book, I think if I remember correctly, he used like a half cup or 3/4 cup or a cup and a half maybe if it was organic method. But this is just what I used. It was easier because I have so many bales. And these little boxes that I have here, I purchased these only because I had just a few more bales to condition. Otherwise, I buy the 50 or 60 pound bags of blood meal or feather meal, which can be expensive, but I needed that many for, I think I have a total of 100 bales now. So I needed that much, and it was cheaper per pound to buy it that way than it is in the boxes. But like I said, I think I have maybe a dozen left to condition, and that will sufficiently do that. So I just sprinkle it on, like I said, and then water it in really well, and make sure that your bales, like I said, are below that temperature, so between 70 and 80 degrees, so that your roots do not get burned. Can't think if there's anything else. Oh, I'll show you my little temperature gauge thing that I use to measure the internal temperature of my bales as well. Focus. There we go. This thermostat gauge is what I use to put into the bales and ensure that they're getting to where I want them to be. Now, outside it's about 65 degrees in my backyard right now. That's better. It's about 65 degrees in my backyard right now, and just to show, these bales are on day 7 of conditioning, so they should be heating up really well. And okay, so you can see it's above 80 degrees. It's getting up there to about 85, 90 degrees. It'll probably reach 90, 95 by the time it's been in there for a little bit. So they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And like I said, I wouldn't want to plant into that, and I still have a few more days of conditioning left of these bales. So this section of the garden is what we keep referring to as the tea garden, since it's growing a lot of our flowers and herbs and plants that we grow for tea. And I have 2 bales in this bed, and then this decomposed bale that had fallen apart is where I planted my artichokes in here, and some rosemary. And I have bales going all the way around this garden. I have some echinacea and calendula planted here, and these bales here are all going to be planted with edible flowers all the way around the border here. So this is my new row that I'm conditioning now, and all these rows here were from last year's garden, and already are planted into. And the white stuff that you see on top here, that is gnat nicks, and it is to get rid of fungus gnats. They love decomposing materials, especially when it's still damp outside. So that's made of recycled glass, 100% recycled glass, and it just creates like a barrier so that they can't get down into the roots. So anything that I have planted out here already, I protected with the gnat nicks for now. And the gnats seem to subside after it warms up quite a bit, so I'd say within a month I shouldn't be seeing them much at all anymore. So anyone that hasn't followed me on Instagram and hasn't seen the success that I had with my straw bale garden last year, I just wanted to like maybe throw a couple photos on there to show you some of my harvests and show you some of the images that I took of my straw bale garden in spring and summer of 2018, so that you can get a better idea of what mine looked like at that point.